Week 1 of the AFL finals had a bit of everything. 3 of the 4 away sides were able to travel on the road and get the job done, while the qualifying finals confirmed the final 3 games of this season will be at the MCG. The GWS Giants and Fremantle Football Club are the first 2 teams sent home and face the agony of an elimination final defeat, while the umpires were in focus yet again. But let's start with the game that the latter featured in. No game summed up the agony and ecstasy of finals football than Fremantle and Gold Coast. David Swallow felt the joy, and Nat Fyfe, as he said post-game, felt numb. It is a brutal sport. With scores tied after another clutch McAndrew mark and goal, the game was in the hands of the Suns' workhorse and veteran. Their first ever national draft selection got them home in their first ever finals game. Only minutes before, he almost cost them, with a huge turnover at half forward leading to a Fremantle goal, but he attacked the ball strongly and Brendan Cox just held on for too long and gave away the free kick. It was a great strike, albeit touched on the mark, that sailed through, and there was simply no time for the Dockers to go end to end. It was fairy tale stuff for the Suns and a nightmare end to Fremantle and Fyfe's career. If Fremantle was going to bounce out, it was in fitting style. They have lived all year in the close game bubble, despite winning 12 of their last 14 coming into the finals. It was a strange winning form line, with huge wins over Gold Coast, Hawthorn, Collingwood and the Western Bulldogs, but also close wins against North Melbourne at home, overcoming a 4-goal half-time margin against Carlton at home, and barely getting over Port Adelaide on the road. In hindsight, everything pointed towards a close final for Fremantle, who just couldn't get over the line despite winning every game from behind at 3/4 time against the top 8 during the home and away season. Now the stats show an even game. The Suns had their run in the second quarter and Fremantle had theirs in the last. The midfield battle was enthralling between Anderson and Rowell, who got the better of Sarong and Brayshaw for the first 3 quarters, before the Docker duo fought back in the last quarter with the help of Hayden Young to give momentum to Fremantle. Captain Alex Pearce also stood up, taking 5 intercept marks alone in the last quarter, and that was one of the main reasons the last quarter was played in Fremantle's half of the ground. It was intense and physical, which is what all cutthroat finals should be. But like most, it came down to the moments. Josh Tracy switched off for half a second, and Andrew took his moment. Cox should have let go in the tackle, but didn't, and Swallow took his moment. It's what Damien Hardwick has preached the whole year in his press conferences, and the Suns 15 years in the making got their moment and took it. Big Brother now awaits at the Gabba. The first elimination final was just as thrilling. 42 points up midway through the third quarter, and Jack Ginnivan celebrating a second and then third goal. It looked like Hawthorn by how much? But all of a sudden, in a quick burst, the Giants piled on 6 goals. It was mainly through their midfield dominance, as in that 10 to 15 minute patch, Finn Callaghan, the subbed on Josh Kelly and Tom Green went crazy. It was orange tsunami football with wave run of attack, and the Hawks looked finished. But in reality, that was all the Giants served up. About 15 minutes of blistering football. The Hawks really controlled the last quarter and evened up the on-ball battle, and the Giants then struggled, as they did for the first half, to score when they went inside 50. For the game, the Giants had 72 entries for just 88 points, and Tom Barrass was the main one who controlled the airways. Like the second elimination final, this game reflected both teams' years. Hawthorn were more steady for the entirety of the game, while GWS were far more sporadic. Sam Mitchell put it great in his post-game presser. Our players were so disciplined and so vigilant in what we had to do defensively. We played in the right manner, and we got what we deserved in the end. Hawthorn now go back to the Adelaide Oval for another semi-final, this time against the Crows, who narrowly beat them by 14 points in round 21. It means the Giants have now lost their last 4 finals, dating back to the 2023 prelim, and have had performance fluctuations in this period of time. In 2026, they need Jesse Hogan, Jake Stringer, Josh Kelly, Brent Daniels and Jack Buckley to be healthy at this point of the season to give themselves a better chance. But let's go to the qualifying finals. How about Collingwood? There are no doubt similarities to 2023. Now, a video on the channel showed how Adelaide weren't going as well as their last month showed, but at least they were winning. Coming into the game, the Pies were just 2 wins and 5 losses in their last 7, and barely got over Melbourne in round 24. 2 years ago, in their last premiership year, the Pies also went 1 win and 3 losses in their last 4. Now, they do like playing at the Adelaide Oval, but they look like a different team compared to the one seen in the final 2 months of the year. The defence, which has been questioned, was phenomenal. Darcy Moore the clear highlight with 9 intercept marks, which is a ridiculous number, while Isaac Quain or Billy Frampton and the others beat their direct opponents. That 5-goal third quarter burst also came directly off a centre clearance, which had been an Adelaide weakness, and put the margin between the sides that wouldn't change in the run home. Then the difference was the class every time the Crows tried to mount a challenge. It was that simple. Nick Dacos throughout the game, alongside Jamie Elliott, Steele Sidebottom and Jordan De Goey, just showed off their skill in key moments, and then as always, Scott Pendlebury controlled the last quarter, toying with the Crows and seemingly playing in slow motion. Another home preliminary final awaits Collingwood, and another week off to try and get as healthy as possible. Matthew Nicks summed up the Crows perfectly. We lacked composure with the ball in hand today. There were times where we hacked it forward and maybe we didn't need to. It was that class difference. Adelaide overall still won the clearance battle and had one more inside 50, but couldn't win or half enough contests forward of the ball like Collingwood. It was a combination of the forwards not gelling great and the kicking up the field being off, and it rubbed salt into the wounds as Collingwood more often than not did the opposite. It sure would have been nice to have Isaac Rankin to counter Dacos, and his absence was glaring forward of centre. The Crows will have to regroup quickly and get that forward connection right, or else a similar story may unfold against Hawthorn, who have a great defensive setup as well. The Hawks and Crows split their 2 home and away season games this year, and it sets up as a fantastic semi-final. But the best and worst is saved for last. The best being Geelong's emphatic performance, and the worst being a critical umpire decision that was wrong, and Brisbane's key injuries. Let's get the umps out of the way. With only a couple minutes left in the second quarter, and the Cats looking to have another shot on goal, Mark O'Connor nudged Cam Rayner in the back. In the moment, it was a massive decision, and when Zach Guthrie shoved Rayner 10 seconds after, it felt like a match-changing pair of calls. Luckily for the AFL, Geelong won, because we can all imagine the outcry if the Lions turned it around and got the momentum. Now, the league office ticked off the second free kick, but did admit the first was an error, but it didn't affect Geelong too much. 80 tackles for the game, extreme pressure, and locking away Hugh McCluggage with O'Shane Mullen, while Ollie Dempsey roamed on a wing on his way to 3 goals. They got everything, literally everything right, and are now in a 10th prelim in 15 years, which is an absurd stat. No more Lions hoodoo in the best performance out of the 4 finals games. And now leaves the Lions in a bit of a hole without Eric Hipwood, who found out he had a partially torn ACL, and Lockie Neal, who pinged his calf in the last quarter. Brisbane all year have bounced back from down games, and it sets up as the biggest Q clash in history, which, like Hawthorn and Adelaide, finished in a 1-1 split between the teams in the home and away season. If Brisbane's premiership was difficult last year, this season will be equally as challenging, now with lesser personnel. The 2 semi-finals are set up perfectly, and from here on out, it is win or go home.